Hey everybody, welcome to FabFit Friday. All right, so what I want to do is show you how I designed the fly pieces. I'm going to switch my camera. I traced a copy of my pants pattern, and I designed the fly pieces on here. And I kind of want to just explain, how I did that. The blue is the left fly, and that's the side that the zipper is not on. It's the smaller piece. So here it is cut out and finished. Okay. And then notice that it's about almost a 1/4 inch shorter than the right fly piece, because when the zipper's finished, the right fly is on top, and you want to cover everything underneath it with that right fly piece. It's like a shield kind of a thing. So here is my right fly piece. Okay, so the right fly piece extends to the zipper seam allowance, which is here, and the left fly piece just goes to the center front edge of the pants. And when you work with a pants pattern, usually you have to trim off the zipper seam allowance, which is this part sticking out right here, off the left leg, because you're gonna then just sew this right to the edge. This fly piece, along with the zipper, gets sewn to the edge where the zipper seam allowance is. So I have this cute Japanese, it's sort of a Japanese birdie fabric. Thought it was kind of fun for my fly pieces. And then I'm on a mission to use up all of my extra stuff I have around. So I have this very long, old zipper. It's a Talon zipper from back in the day. So I'm going to use it. And you can see it's really long. But the benefit of using a zipper that's longer than you need is you never have to fight with where the pool is. So the pool is never going to be in our way, which is kind of cool. The other nice thing about this zipper, let me just verify. This zipper has a 1/2 inch twill tape. Most nylon zippers now have 3/8 of an inch wide. So, that's another nice thing about this older zipper to use for the fly. Okay, so what I want to explain is this right here is the seam for the front crotch curve. Okay, so after you get the zipper put on up here, the pieces in the zipper, you then put your legs together and you sew along this seam. And then when the left leg comes over, the folded edge of the left fly is going to overlap the right, and it's going to overlap wherever this is to wherever the base of your zipper is sewn. So in this case, instead of doing a 3/8 inch seam allowance, I'm changing it to a 1/2 inch, because that's going to give me an 1/8 of an inch more overlap. So when your zipper is closed, there's more coverage, and sometimes that's handy if things aren't going exactly right. Previously, in all of my instructions, it's at 3/8. When I make a pair of pants, I like to serge all the edges of all the pieces before I get going, because then I don't have to stop and go back and forth. Okay, and I used a narrow 3 thread, and just to give you a little quick tip on this, the way you serge the fly detail is you start at the top, you come down with your serger, you're just skimming the edge. When you get near the bottom, fold this out of the way and chain off. Okay, then put the fabric back under the presser foot so the needle is right here. So it's like right here. And then straighten your curve as you stitch to get the rest of that crotch curve. So that's how I clean finish that. You'll notice I did not clean finish the waistline edges. That's the only thing I did not clean finish, because that gets totally encased in the waistband, and I'm just not going to worry about that. But I even went around the hem, the bottom edge, so everything's all ready to go and I don't have to flip back and forth. All right, so here's what we're going to do. Let me just show you how this is going to work. My zipper is going to go right sides together with the right fly piece, and because this is a 1/2 inch twill tape, I don't have to offset it to get the seam to line up with the base of the seam allowance. If you're working with a nylon zipper that has a 3/8 inch seam allowance, what you would want to do is poke out that edge a little bit, like offset it. Let me turn it this way so you can see, so that it's a little bit closer. So see how you'd see not the entire narrow 3 thread, but almost. Okay, and that way you can stitch in the right spot, because a 3/8 inch twill tape is not wide enough to allow you to stitch right here where you need to. All right, so because I have this 1/2 inch, I don't have to worry about that. And I am going to I'm going to put my zipper like this, right sides together, so you can see the zipper is never going to be in the way, so I don't have to worry about it. And it's way too long, I'll trim that off later. So the first step in doing the fly piece, let's do the right leg first, okay, is to sew the zipper to the zipper seam allowance. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it upside down like this, because then I can see that I want to start right there on that edge of that zipper seam allowance. That's why my zipper seam allowance just doesn't, like, you know, blend back into the front crotch curve. It actually has a definite stopping point. So that's going to be our first step. So let me get my machine over here. And I am just going to start stitching the back tack. I'm going to stitch all the way up to the top. Back tack. Okay. All right, let's look at that. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my fly and I'm going to put it right sides together. Now the cool thing about this is it's right sides on both sides. Okay, so because it's double, I serged this edge and the bottom edge, so it's, you know, it's all ready to go. I'm going to line that up with the top of my waistline like this. Okay. And maybe I'll put in a couple pins here. Again, I'm going to flip it over so I can see what I'm doing, but so I'm basically pinning like that. So I'm pinning, you know, underneath the zipper. Now, the thing about the bottom of this fly piece, you don't want to attach it to, you don't want to sew it to the zipper, because you want to be able to pull it out of the way when you're stitching the fly. So I'm going to leave this last 2 inches free. Okay, so we're going to start stitching at this pin, and we're just going to basically stitch exactly where we stitched the first time, but through all the, you know, the zipper fly piece and the zipper and the leg. So I'm going to move this out of the way. All right. Okay. Excellent. All right, so now let's look and see what we have. Okay, so see, now it looks like this. All right, so this completes the right leg for right now. So now I'm going to get my left leg. Okay, and you can see here when I clean finish this, I just cut the zipper seam allowance off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my fly piece and I'm going to just line it up right sides together like this. And I'm going to sew that using my 1/2 inch seam allowance. And I'm just going to start at the bottom, because it seems to, and I'm stitching this all the way down, or all the way up. All right, Then the next step is we want to understitch. So I'm just going to open this up like this. And I'm just going to stitch fairly close to the seam, maybe a generous 1/8 inch away. And I'm going to pull the pieces away as I stitch. Back tack. Excellent. All right, so now let's look at what we have here. This is my left leg, this is my right leg. I am going to lay this like this. Okay, so this is my right leg. And I could take a quick step here. I'm going to plop this down and I'm going to press this so everything's nice and flat. So literally I'm just going to, iron this so it's flat. Okay. And I can also iron this. I'm just going to iron this flat for now. I don't want to press it to the back yet. Okay, so those are my two pieces. So I just ironed this one flat too. All right. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to lay this down flat like this. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay down my left leg right on top of it. And what I'm lining up here is my crotch. Oops, you can see. I'm lining up my crotch curve, my front crotch edges. Okay, so this is all lined up here. I'm also lining up my top of my waistline edge. Okay, so everything is lined up as if I were ready to sew this portion. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is, with everything lined up exactly even, what that also is telling me is where the zipper is underneath this left fly piece is where it needs to get sewn onto. So literally, if I like this no fuss and muss kind of way to do it. I just reach under here and put a pin. So I'll put a pin there, and I'll put another pin right here, and I'm just pinning the zipper to the left fly. Okay, so then if I then fold this leg back over, okay, you can see that I'm going to have like a nice 1/2 inch overlap. That's the overlap I was talking about by using the wider seam allowance. But you can see that that all lines up nicely, and there's my zipper in there. All right, so I just wanted to check it and make sure everything lines up nicely. So then I can pick it up like this. Okay, so that's where that zipper needs to get sewn to, and just to keep everything nice and honest here, I'm just going to replace the pins with pins on this side. So I'm not going to take out those other pins until I've pinned it in position from this edge. And then I can take out these pins and pin it this way. So I don't have to use Wonder Tape or anything. It's very easy. Okay, so now the next step is we want to sew the zipper to this fly piece. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do now. Here's the cool part about sewing the left fly piece. It doesn't matter how close you get to the teeth at this point. Okay, so you can sew right on the edge and then in the middle, or in the middle and right on the edge. I like to sew twice. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just get my my presser foot in the middle of the twill tape, and I'm going to stitch all the way up like this. And then I'm going to sew again really close to the edge, and that just helps hold the zipper down nicely. Okay. And this is actually the wrong side. That's how it looks, and that's pretty much how it's going to look when it's finished as well, but let's turn it to the right side. Okay, so see, now we've got this, we've got our overlap, and I think what I'm going to do is just give that a nice press so I can get a nice crease on this overlapped edge here. I'm just going to give it a little steam there. Okay. All right, so now the next step is to finish the front crotch seam. I've got two different seams. This is my understitching. The one closest to the edge is my understitching. This one's my seam, so I'm going to basically connect that. And the zipper foot's going the wrong way, so I need to switch it for this one. Just do a switcheroo here. You want to stitch with this side face up so you can see those seams. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure everything is lined up here. I don't want to catch the zipper or any of this other stuff. I just want to sew the pants together here. So I'm going to put my needle so it's maybe 1 stitch length below my stopping point. It's never going to need to get, like if you're not right on the base of it, no one's ever going to see that one tiny little stitch length. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stitch this. Just do a little back tack. I'm just going to do my 1/2 inch all the way to the end. All right, so let's take a look at this. Now you can see, now that this is finished, it's very nice, and you can't really tell where the seam, there's no, weird yuckiness where the seam starts and the overlap, or where the seam ends and the overlap starts. But so you've got that nice big 1/2 inch overlap, which is really nice for coverage. So that's how I'm going to do that. Now, to just do a quick fly, these are just simple pants. I'm just going to do a single line of stitching. So I'm going to line my ruler up 1.25 inches away. That's what I like for my distance. And I'm going to just draw a straight line here. Okay, and actually it's like this. All right, so there's my straight line. I'm going to feel where the bottom of my zipper is. I do want to catch that. So I'm going to start straight here, and I'm just going to veer up to the straight line. So I make my straight line longer than I need, and then I connect it with a curve. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to sew this now. However, this is the part where I get to tell you why we didn't sew down the right fly piece completely. We don't want to catch it when we sew down here, the curve of the fly. We don't want to catch it. So I like to fold it up and out of the way. And actually, I'm just going to pin it to the front, the right leg, so it stays out of the way. All right, so now I know this is not going to get in the way. Okay, and all we're going to be catching is the zipper and the left fly piece and the left leg. But this laying nice, everything's laying nice and neat. I'm going to put a pin here through the fly and the leg to hold that nice and flat. Okay, so that'll help hold that nicely. Now here's the thing. If you start here with your top stitching and there's any sort of stretch to your fabric, by the time you get down here, it's going to push and make a funny little bubble there, possibly. Not always, but possibly. So the way you totally avoid that problem is by starting down at the base of your fly. All right, so let me just show you how easy this is. I'm going to put my regular foot back on. And the reason why I'm doing that is if you notice on your machine, when we're using a skinny zipper foot, it only uses one little skinny set of feed dogs to pull the fabric. So I like to put the full one back on when I do my fly to get good control and good feed on my fabric. Okay, because now it's taking advantage of all the feed dogs. With the zipper foot, it's only getting the one row of feed dogs. So that's just another little tip. You know, I use the zipper foot when it's convenient. I don't want to whip it on and off 20 times, but when I do stitch the fly, I do like to have the regular foot back on. Okay, and I'm not going to change the top stitching thread again. This is just a simple pair. I'm going to make a pair of like capri pants, and I'm going to put a drawstring in the hem just to make it a little fun. And I'm going to wear them with my wool clogs until it gets to be cold. All right, so I'm going to start right at the seam, okay, and I'm going to make my stitch length a tick bigger than 3. So I'm going to take 2 stitches forward, well 3, and then I'm going to take 2 stitches back. So I went 3 stitches forward, 2 stitches back, and then I am just going to slowly follow my curve that I drew, and if I start to get in trouble, I can lift it up and pivot a little bit. Okay, and now for the easy part, I'm just going to come straight up, and all I'm catching is that fly piece at this point. You want to make sure that you create a left fly that's wide enough to support the stitching of your front fly. All right. All right, so let's look at this. All right, so that's how it looks from the right side. It's a very simple, this is just a very simple fly for pants. Okay, and then if I look in here, you know, here's my zipper. You know, it zips down very easily, zips up very easily. Now to finish it, what we're gonna do, this is how it looks now, and you can see where I stitched, okay? My chunkier scissors here, I'm just going to cut my zipper so it's shorter. Well, it's maybe the exact length. It has to be the exact length of the fly piece, like this. Okay, and then remember, I cut the right fly piece is a little bit longer. So see how it covers everything nice and neat, and it makes a really nice finish. But what we have to do is we have to reach in here, and we have to sew that together. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put a pin diagonally like this. And I'm going to draw with the chalk again. I like to do like a little diagonal sewing here. So we want to make sure we catch the corner of this so they're together. So I'm just going to stitch like this. And that will catch it. And this will sew the 2 fly pieces together. You could could use navy here if you wanted to. All right, so there's that. And then also, if you wanted to, you could sew the zipper to the, you could catch it right here if you wanted to too. I'm not going to bother with that. But basically now, we've got this nice, neat finish. Everything lays flat. I just think this is a really nice shape and a really easy way to finish your front fly without, you know, doing anything super fancy. And then here is my other side. And, you know, the other thing I could do here is, and I probably will, so let me just do it. All right, so the other thing I want to do here is I just want to top stitch along my front crotch curve. And we just want to be like really close, like less than almost as, you know, 1/8 of an inch or 1/16 of an inch, just to give that some support. I'm only going to go once, and I'm going to stitch all the way to the base of the fly. And then I'm going to back tack 3 stitches. All right, so that really is the other. I probably should have done that step while I was top stitching, but that just makes that a nice, neat finish there. All right, so that's the nice, easy fly. Now, obviously, you're going to have to trim the zipper here, and I will do that after I get my waistband on. I don't want to have to put this pull back on, so I'm not shortening this until I'm ready to put the waistband on, but that's how you do this nice, neat fly finish. All right, so if you have any questions about how to do a front fly, please let me know. And if you're working on pants and you're doing a front fly, I'd love to see your pictures. And if you have a way that is amazing for a front fly, you know, post them, you know, show us what your favorite method is, because I know this is only one method, but I've been fine-tuning it to make it super easy. So, you know, but I know there are other great ways to put in a front fly as well. So that's what I have to talk about today. I hope you guys have a great weekend, and I will see you next week.